Oh boy, what a day we've had so far, but we are finally at that fifth match of the day. It's going to be Elyssar taking on Aqualix. And as we said just before the break, these are two teams that at this point, we just do not know what to expect. Let's start with Elyssar, Forceful.
Yeah, I mean, Elyssar has been a team that has kind of under-delivered the last few play days. You got some pretty big names on there. You know, Giddy, Young Alec, kind of stand out to me. Giddy overall has been having a really good stage. I will give him that kind of credit. Last play day or so, you know, he had a tragedy in his family, so you know, can kind of excuse it. But today is like one of those games that, like, because every point matters, they need to step it up today. They need to make sure that they're coming at this full swing. They need to be prepared because they're playing one heck of a team and the side of Aqualix, eh, Cookies?
You're messing with me, are
you? Just a little bit.
I'm not laughing.
Yeah, serious faces. Serious faces.
This is serious business. This is a serious problem. Aqualix just doesn't seem to know what they want to be and what they need to do to get to where they need to be. They're sitting in a very tumultuous, precariously tactical situation right now. And if they want to get out of this season without getting relegated, they're going to have to be freaking Elyssar. That's my presentation. You know, Afer's actually pretty damn. I can say damn. Afer's pretty damn good. I like how Afer's playing, but right now, otherwise, Aqualix just pisses me off. I want to be honest.
Okay, now, Tanner, Elyssar, they came out of the gate. It looked like they started moving before the light even turned green. And then all of a sudden, as they got away, this stage just kind of caught right back up with them.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, this is a game that they should be winning. And I also feel like you got a good point where it's like, what happened? I don't understand where the process went. Like we saw in their last play day on Bang, they just looked very like individualistic. They're trying to do things by themselves. I just wasn't overall impressed all that much by Elyssar's play. So what I'm looking for today in terms of how I want them to be playing is I need them to, sorry, it was on Border, it wasn't Bank, I apologize. Still the same issues though. They need to capitalize on their defensive advantages. Like they did a really good job fundamentally against TTK or ATK, kind of making sure that they were winning the early round. They won the mid round, and then late round, you know, ATK's got no map control and they just rush into site and they take everything. And it's just like, what happened? You know, like we have them down the last 10 seconds. We need to close out these rounds. So I'm looking for them to have good information and be able to react and to anticipate what's going to be happening with their opponents, you know, giving those defensive prompts out to their teammates to get them back to site. And then the second thing is I'm looking, like I said, that togetherness, that be tradable kind of aspect. They need to be basically able to back each other up and making sure that they're supporting one another so that way when the chaos ensues, which we know it's going to happen with Aqualix, that at least then, especially on the attack, they're able to continue their momentum. They're going to be able to continue their front. They're going to be able to push into sight, get those executes that they want to get.
Cookies, an important thing you brought up on the side of Aqualix. You know, the Carnico victory was probably the worst thing that could happen to them today because now it's a very real possibility that they could see themselves in that relegation picture.
They're staring down the barrel. Relegation. But what they can do to fix that, Forceful, to counter your critical point, this team can play their lives better. You know, you don't have to fight over Art Room on Villo. You don't have to fight over Study when the site is statuary across the zip code of the country. You can back up a little. I know this is crazy. I know this is like so hard. Shoot the drone, right? Maybe pre-fire a little bit.
Wait, shoot the drones?
Let me explain it really slow, Grim. Let me explain it really slow because people like Golds and Rank do this too, which is why I don't understand why Aqualix is doing it. Let's pop the drone, maybe hit a little pre-fire or something, right?
And
then back up. Run away. Back to the site. Do you see what I mean? You don't have to and then die. And then 3 of your people are dead, and then you're left with Rice on site who's like, what are my teammates doing? It doesn't need to be like that. It does not have to be like that. And the thing is, if you're Aqualix, you can punish Elyssar's struggles. They act like lost puppies late round. You know what they're really good at? Capitalizing when you walk at them like Muppets. So Aqualix should not do that. And they'll do really good today, potentially.
Do you want to know what's very important? This map veto, as we saw from the last match, that was possibly lost in the veto, Tanner.
The what? What'd you say?
What?
Oh man.
No,
Okay,
Carney
so
could
go.
be- yeah,
No,
Clubhouse? That was a
no,
little
yeah.
troll, wasn't it?
The club going to current Clubhouse is absolutely troll from the side of TTK. On this one, I'm kind of looking. I'm looking for Chalet, Bank, and Club. Those are the three maps that the teams all have kind of in sync with each other. They like to play. And if you go and look, in the first 5 maps, they're all 3 of them banned. So, and there's the Villa ban. Thank you. So basically, what we're going to be getting this game, I think this is going to be a map that we haven't seen a lot from either team. One of these maps is going to be going in Fresh, Cafe, Theme Park.
Okay.
No way.
Here we go.
Let me back this up. This is both teams' perma ban map. Neither team has let this map go through all stage. So both teams, there's no VOD footage, right? It just came back in the comp pool this year. So this is a completely fresh game. I have no idea what we're gonna get. I almost want to switch to Aqualix. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think Aqualix
their backs are against the wall here. That's a dangerous recipe.
Yeah, and can I just say, this is a map. It's perfect to have your back against the wall and just wild out. Like this is a perfect production. Can we change my vote? I'm actually going to go to Aqualix here. I don't think Elyssar have the togetherness to drone out the information and basically be able to kind of find all the ratty positions that are on the theme park. I think if Aqualix play the way they've been playing, I think they actually could win this map. I think this is a mistake.
I'm scared to make any move. What are your thoughts, CJ? Because I don't trust anything anymore, to be honest.
Today sucked.
I have no more further comment to make. Honestly,
Okay.
I have no further. I'm going to stick with what I originally put, and I have no further comment on the map and where we are at this juncture. I have no comment.
See, I love as a desk host when I can turn to my analysts, ask them questions, and they go, "No." And
what do you want me to say about this? It's both their auto bans, and the thing about Elyssar is they've just petrified of new maps. I could see why. The last time they played Border, they act like they've never seen Border before in their lives. So there's a good chance, Forceful, you might just be right. And what's crazy is, if you're wrong, it's like, what was Aqualix thinking? It's just like I don't care anymore. It doesn't make any sense. I'm done. I'm done with this segment. Toss it to the casters, Brim. This is ridiculous.
Okay. Well, they've spoken. They're done. We're done. The only thing we'll have to do is talk about it when, who knows, whatever final result pops up between these two teams, Elyssar, Aqualix, and of course, it has to go to something like Theme Park.
What?
Playday 8. Gasher is sending CJ on his Joker arc. Really? A lot of things have happened today, everybody. And I think we can say CJ might not be making it back for the broadcast next week. He might finally lose it. Now, John, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I'm as confident as Tanner. I don't know if I could change my prediction to AQ just because it's AQ and I'm not confident in them. However, with this new variable of Theme Park entering into play, perhaps anything can happen.
There's just I don't want to say there's no way, because one standpoint that's always been true for both Elyssar and Aqualix has been their ability to have a good entry player. Both Kento and also Afer. Kento for the longest time had the best entry in the league. He finally got dethroned of that, and in the second half on defense, he didn't do that great on entry when playing against ATK on Border, but besides that, before that, he did really well. Same thing with Afer. When he is being enabled, he does his job at finding kills very, very well. And that's going to be kind of the boiled down assessment between these two teams, is not only how well their entry player can do in general, but what their opponents are willing to sacrifice or get away with in order to either get entry in that position or win the gunfight outright. And on a map that neither one of these teams have played in an actual match, maybe in scrims here and there, but not in actual, not actually in CL just yet, it definitely leaves a really big question as to how frag heavy this matchup is going to be today.
Glad that you said match.
Yeah, that's how you know we've been here for several hours. And in case you didn't hear it the first time, definitely did the second.
I was confused at first when you just said match. I was like, could he mean something else? Could he mean an exhibition show match? And then you said match, and I knew what you were talking about, John.
Thank you. I try really hard on my wordplay.
I'm proud of you. We've come a long way.
I think we definitely have.
I'm getting the feeling I should have switched to AQ. I don't know why. I'm getting a feeling in my stomach that I should have joined the Aqualix train with Tanner. I don't know why. But I just don't know if I can commit, John. I just don't know if I can commit. Tanner makes a good point. Once they go to the defense, they could rat out quite a bit. And Elyssar have been on weaker footing these past couple weeks. But on a new map, I feel like I trust Elyssar just a little bit more. Starting out on the defense as well. Maybe able to take advantage of stopping Afer at the door, taking them down, forcing the rest of the attack to step up. I don't know. I just feel like Elyssar might have it. Bunk's Daycare, maybe they'll prove me wrong. Of course, the nice thing about Bunk's Daycare, John, is it just kind of says a lot about your initiation defense, since you also have to defend initiation on Bunk's Daycare. So we'll see if Elyssar are able to provide some good information on what could be 2 different sites on Theme Park. And if this round goes poorly, maybe I'll start regretting my choice.
Seemingly confident so far, not opting to go throne room first and foremost, and a lot can go kind of the wayside. It is fairly easy in comparison to extending into, or at least playing as a site directly for office initiation, to actually extend over in here when it's not the objective room, because it's just 10 times easier to fall back, especially if you either don't see anyone pushing from Cafe, or you have a player that is strong enough to actually stop that Cafe push from being all that much of a threat. It looks like Elyssar, they've got...
John?
Yes?
I don't want to change topics. Ladies and gentlemen, Tragical just posted an LFT tweet.
Good call. Whether it's an out-of-pocket April Fool's joke or not,
It is not.
probably
not a joke.
for the best. Anywho, back in the round.
I love CL. I love CL.
It's a fun time here, as always, at the circus. That's what C and CL stands for. Just kidding. Anyways, seems like we've got the bottom push so far for Aqualix. Could go for some nade spam, potentially, if they want to. A lot of the flooring is soft, and it looks like Afer will just try to shoot through the actual flooring instead, spotting out a magnet to maybe have less burn to deal with for those flashes, and then follow up with a nade to break out that shield. So everything going pretty normal so far, Carter, I'd have to say, but still, no entry just yet. It's been rather silent in the kill department, still in that 5-on-5. When will it happen? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, thankfully, Aqualix have kept it slow for me, as I've been distracted by laughing that Tragical is LFT after that last game. That I'm glad they haven't, done anything too crazy. Kento will finally start getting active, though, once we all start turning our attention back. Takes the first kill, or takes the first player on Aqualix down. Slimy Nick, the Flores falls. Ooh, hell of a C4 shot right there. Sniped like a clay pigeon out of the air, but Giddy can still get active with that SMG-11. Down Psychosis. And now Afer is left to make a decision. Do I want to pick him back up, or risk incurring the wrath of the person on Arcade Stairs? He'll instead go with the latter, pick Afer back up. We're back to a 4v4 between these two teams, but still a similar situation for Aqualix, struggling to move up Arcade Stairs or find really any opening beyond that kill onto Giddy on top of Arcade. Rice is now repelled into Break Room, tangling with the Wamai just on the opposite side of that doorways. It's actually Gasher going huge in the round so far, and the defense from Elyssar just collapses in a matter of seconds as Aqualix sit on Arcade and just wait until it works.
Guess we had the patience be a pretty big virtue there for Aqualix. And Elyssar, although they won the opening kill and almost had a 5-on-3/4v3, they still were not able to close strong towards the end of the round. I believe that was a point that was made during the desk, so hopefully the desk can be proven just slightly wrong, since everyone but Tanner, unless you change your vote, I can't quite remember, my mind is fading.
I stuck with Elyssar.
All right, well, I'm glad. We can go down with the ship together, my good friend. Only Tanner decided to go onto a life raft, potentially, in case Elyssar is actually that sinking ship, the Titanic here of CL, as they're going to lose after gaining that advantage. But they'll opt to go the site directly across from Bunkin Daycare. They end up going now into Initiation Room and Office as well. But it's pretty much the exact same extension, except just switched around. You now move in through Bunk, and you're like that cafe/yellow hall, with your actual extension, and then you fall back more towards the site for the last few moments of the round or so, depending on how it actually gets played out by Aqualix on their attacks.
Yeah, hopefully we see them take it from a different angle, because even though the Cafe Arcade push came through, still heavily reliant on just getting kills, like pushing up those stairs, John. You basically have to worry about somebody being behind the entirety of the railing on the top floor, and that's something that's very difficult to make work, even though Gasher made it look easy in the previous round. So hopefully maybe we'll see them try this more from Cash side, or if they do, maybe try to use some utility to clear out Arcade as opposed to just taking it by gunfights. But it appears they've all gone over to the east side, and they will be trying things from Cash this go around.
20 seconds gone. Aqualix are looking to go in for the... Got some more direct, like you had mentioned. Got Rice still, at least opening up some of the hatches, maybe just to scare Elyssar and expecting more of a push near the cafe side. I don't even think the hatch will fully open up. I believe some of the pellets actually got shot. But still, a majority of this push has been noticed by Elyssar to a degree. Their terror drone gets destroyed. And for Aqualix, they are just still trying their best in terms of entering the building. Aver finally does and looks to go on that light push around from another stairwell. Not from Arcade this time, instead it being Dragon.
Kento looking to get aggressive with that player outside on the Cash balcony. Ooh, just spots his head for about half a second, but doesn't pull the trigger. Instead, waits for the time being. Afer gets the first kill onto young Alec, who is playing in about this same area. Losing that Omai early on could prove problematic, but to be fair, given how this is set up, I don't know actually how much a young Alec would have been using those magnets. Seemed like he was going to play aggressive no matter what. Aqualix will take that opportunity to just move into the top of Dragon. All the rest of Elyssar is nowhere near that area, either inside or mostly behind it. Aqualix in the first half of the round could take this for free.
3 people all at the exact same time in a joyous effort, get on their drones, and now it's 5 in total for just a brief moment, confirming the last 4 defenders' locations, or at least trying to the next 70 seconds. Still plenty of hard breach available in the pocket of Rice to go maybe get that control wall opened up, either that or the wall from Cash leading into the site of offices. Either way, everything is going according to plan so far, but again, that fall off that was never truly dealt with here. You've got that long range to play with, and you have all 3 of those smokes for the final 50 seconds. There's still a good chance that Elyssar can maybe claw things back just a bit, but it will be much more difficult as they are still at that technical man disadvantage as of right now.
But Aqualix not having a lot in the way of control, throwing in some utility, sending in some Rotero drones. Vivid will send some back in turn, but again, Aqualix are doing a well enough job stalling out on their own. That Rotero drone even gets stopped by the mute jammer, and I believe that was one of the last ones for Slimy Nick. Still has one more. He'll put it at Kento's feet instead of at the reinforcement, and working himself out of that position, a really good play. Psychosis spots him as a result, takes that opportunity to get Aqualix their second kill, but still progress needs to be made beyond just kills on the board. No entry made inside of the site, and all you have is 10 seconds left. They're watching this long haul right now, but Psychosis shuts it down with a beautiful shot onto Vivid. Inrio, the only one athletic in this round so far, puts Psychosis on the floor, but with 3 bodies able to watch Gasher with the diffuser, does smoke Rice. Beautiful shot. Wish we had seen it. Sees another on yellow. Okay, I'm getting a little nervous now if I'm AQ. Two, make that 3 of your bodies in the post plant have now fallen. You know where Inrio is. You can hear the shots firing. There's one just to his left, but might just whiff his opportunity. Put Inrio below half, but gives him the opportunity to reload. He knows he's through the wall. He downs him. Afer's dropped. It's all left up to Gasher. Only 13 seconds left. Sees him cross, but misses. Inrio's low. Just 2 bullets could be the end of him, but he's still peeking. He's still waiting. The 1v5 in hand. 3 seconds left. Gasher is around bathroom, but Inrio, he's got to go for the plant. He's got to stick it, and the firebolt, well-timed through bathroom, is the end of Inrio and stops what probably would have been the play of the weekend in its tracks.
A valiant effort, but again, the man advantage, the time, and even the util was just not favoring Elyssar to any degree. Although, again, Enrio made it very close, just enough time to defuse, but the magnet catches the asphyxiating bolt and puts it even closer to that case, making that basically impossible once Enrio committed to going in for the actual attempt to disable it. So, a second round now for Aqualix, and seems like the entry has still been just by those top 2 contenders of Kento and Afer, but really nothing to harp on all that much. That was a genuine team effort done by Aqualix. They just played that really well together. They did their job in terms of getting the hard destruction opened up eventually, or at least to a degree where it forced Elyssar much farther back. They still found their kills throughout the entire round, and although they lost a lot of life against Enrio, they still were set up in a way where it made Enrio's job almost near impossible, and then became truthfully impossible as he still couldn't win out the round, despite finding 4 kills in total by himself.
Go down to Throne instead, which odd site selection for Elyssar, I will say. Normally Throne is the bedrock of the theme park defense. You don't have to worry about vertical, like, at all, really. There's some, some spots that can open up, but still, there's a lot of freedom to play with on this site, as opposed to in comparison to maybe other ones. You also, for Aqualix, your main 2 avenues are opening up, maintenance wall, which can be very easily C4'd or impact tricked, so interesting for Elyssar to go to this as their 3rd attempt at a defense out of, so far, 2 unsuccessful ones. See where Aqualix decided to go for this, and looks like John, surprise, surprise, going in through cash. Can you believe that the most popular avenue to start out your attack on theme park proves to be the most popular? Can't believe it.
Just baffles my mind the more and more
Incredible.
I think about it. Yeah, and to think a Jackal, when you have the entire map to clear out in terms of a roam game, that's just as shocking in my mind, Carter. But looks like the intel game with the drones is not going to work out just yet, as a Mozzie Pest is going to catch the first of many, at least from Psychosis' pocket. Second one gets tossed out this time by the hard-breaching player of Gasher, and they notice Vigil for a split second, and then flick. He disappears with his ERC, and then disappears from the lobby. Psychosis will immediately remove Kento from the equation, and the roam game now needs to think about whether they want to fall back completely or not, and it looks like Young Alk, he might try to at least cut the map in half and wait for someone to back him up from the top of Arcade Stairs to make this a bit more problematic here for the offense. But I don't think Inrio knows somebody's to his immediate left. I don't think we have Afer acknowledge this either, and Inrio wins the fight. An important one at that too, Carter.
A very important one is Elyssar haven't given things up completely, though they might wish that they had, John, because right as I was about to say, they still hold on to some control on the top floor. The remaining 2 roamers died. They are now gone. They have ceased to exist. They are ex-roamers. Now all that's left is for Giddy and Vivid to try to make this work with not much going for them. Sure, they have, control of the site. Sure, Aqualix haven't done much hard breaching on the middle floor. Haven't opened up barrels, haven't opened up maintenance, or what have you. But Giddy's off site right now, trying to get mobile, get a kill. He does know Psychosis is out here, but the Jackal is wiser. Spots the Wamai moving in through Drug. But there's still so much going for Aqualix, despite the lack of a breach. They have this Wamai pinned down inside of Drug Lab, and a Psychosis finishes the kill. We're left to where we probably would have expected us to be. Vivid, alone. No C4. He'll play for the retake now to try to catch members of Aqualix off guard as they move around the site, but they've already filled the void he left. He gets 1 kill onto the biggest thorn in Elyssar's side in round number 3. Psychosis down, but a slimy Nick right on yellow stairs. 3 rounds in a row for Aqualix so far on theme park attack. And if their defense is as good as Tanner predicted it might be, I'm worried if I'm Elyssar going down 3-0 on my defenses.
And I really got a question. After falling from your good graces, essentially, Elyssar that being, why you are going for these incredibly risky roam plays. I'm not going to discredit Kento. Kento's a fantastic player at the end of the day. That's statement made. That's fact of matter. But when you are playing by yourself, incredibly open and vulnerable to several different angles by Aqualix, and you immediately die, it begs the question, what was the point of having this whole elaborate roam scheme with multiple people if you're just going to play by yourself and die in the first 30 seconds? It makes absolutely 0 sense to me in my mind. And let's say, for the argument, Kento still gets a kill in that position and then gets refragged. He still didn't really do all that much on the round. I still feel like Aqualix would have just went into autopilot mode like they did throughout the rest of that roam game and still did a relatively fine job clearing everything out and still being in probably a 3v2, maybe even a 3v1 position still, and able to get that plant down and stop anyone from clutching out in 1vx factor position. So really, it is just gigantic mistakes and that lack of any enablement by Elyssar right now that is just forcing Aqualix to just demolish them so far at the beginning part of this first half, where across the board it is night and day, with Aqualix doing everything they can to guarantee they win these entries, or at the very least trade immediately and keep moving forward against Elyssar's defense.
Going back to the beginning of their rotation, maybe we'll see something different, John. I hope we do. I certainly hope we do. I have actually, I was gonna say I haven't casted Theme Park before, but I actually can't say that with certainty. I have not casted Theme Park many times, so it would be unfortunate if one of my first forays back into casting the map, we have a quick one, especially against Elyssar, as you said, have very much fallen from grace in the past few weeks, and be awkward of Aqualix, who have also not had their great time. End up being another team that they end up taking a loss to. Flora's drone stopped on that shield, so Kento can play behind it for the time being, as Aqualix are running it back, trying this arcade take again. As I mentioned before, the utility doesn't land. The problematic part of going for this is you have to basically win this by gunfights, and it's not an easy place to make gunfights work with how many angles you have to worry about and clear. So for Aqualix, I want to see some new dimension to add, and maybe it's utility landed, but if it's not, I don't know. It's got to be something better.
Nade is thrown. Frost mat destroyed. Someone could hop in through arcade window if need be, but that'd be very risky. Still having Kento on his shield near Cafe Quarter and still having someone playing next to arcade stairs. That'd be a very deadly cross attempt, so probably not want to risk that. Kento, having tons of utility to play with, is able to beautifully kill Gasher and able to get that entry once again in the books. We have seen this storyline somewhat beforehand last time this site was in play, where it was 2 immediate clapbacks by Aqualix, and it looks like they will reattempt that once again with a less of an emphasis on that middle floor and instead trying to fully double down on this top floor clear out near Cafe.
All of these nades have been shut down at every single turn by ADSs and magnets, and the one from Afer, to be fair, just goes plain old wide. Doesn't even land on anything. But that's what I was worried about, is that while they won the previous round, as you said, it required Gasher going huge, pushing up arcade stairs to make the round winnable for Aqualix. Here, we're in a similar position, but now down a man. If Elyssar are just able to play their trades, they can get their first defensive win on the board. Afer uses his last nade to fly up over the stairs and does chip damage to Vivid. Nothing to write home about, but Giddy peeks and Psychosis is watching. Aqualix able to shut down that player all the way back by break once again. Inrio gets one, just as Rice does as well. Aqualix keeping it close when they really have no business keeping it this close. Rice is repelled into break, moving in through the site. Vivid's going huge, but Afer keeps him quiet. Kento watching, waiting for the push-up main. As one goes through, Afer can't react in time. It's all left up to Rice, who gets a big down, but there's one to his left, and he can't turn quick enough. First round for Elyssar, as they, well, just probably play the game they were going to play from round 1 anyway.
Seems like they still had a couple of small issues there, but at the end of the day, you don't expect to always be losing that gunfight. You had arcade stairs blocked off. They're basically smothered in there. It would make a lot of sense to go in for that swing to make it a 5-on-3, even more winnable for your side. Just didn't work out all that well for Giddy in picture, but still allowing Kento to be in a safer position to go do his job as your main gunner was beautifully done by Aqualix once again, or by Elyssar, sorry, once again. And Aqualix decided to actually approach that more confrontational than last time, where they had several people pushing down and through the bottom floor. They only had 2, and they were very separate from one another, whereas we had basically everything thrown at that one shield to try to deal with Kento. And for a brief moment, we had Elyssar reclaim that advantage. They could play for double swings, they could play for trades, so it was more than enough to get their first round finally in the bag. But it took a very long time, and in general, Aqualix, they have looked much stronger in comparison so far in the matchup of Theme Park. Even when they make mistakes, they're able to fix them quite quickly, whereas Elyssar, they have seen a bit slower in that department as of right now.
I have to say, John, now going to bunks, you know, Elyssar had that improvement. They're able to get those kills. Why weren't they able to do that previously? And I don't say that like, you know, I'm confused, but like, Aqualix's attacks really have not been stellar, save for Throne, which had some good moments in the early round. But really, it just seems like Elyssar collapsing in the late round that is just rewarding Aqualix for what overall is like fairly average takes. Really not throwing anything off the wall, getting stuck on a lot of these positions, but when Elyssar give them opportunities like this, Kento sitting so far up in long haul, you're giving Aqualix a freebie to mitigate any future mistakes they might have pushing into the building. So hopefully we'll maybe see something more come from this playstyle by Elyssar, because really so far, even after that round win, it's not really paying too much for them.
It's a general lack of discipline that we have seen so far. That could have been the biggest thing to upset this for Elyssar as of right now. Maybe that'll change, though, later on. Still, the night is young. Technically not even night for some people as well, so take that phrase as you will. But for Aqualix, they don't really seem to care about my phrases.
Evening is still young.
They want to just, even better. That is true. Doesn't seem like Aqualix really care about our funny jokes mid-broadcast. They need to do their job in terms of gathering intel and maybe breaking some gadgets here and there as well. Rotero Drone, not going to find anything except a couple players just for some quick information, but that'll eventually dry up at some point. For the most part, Aqualix, though, don't seem all that upset as of right now. They are just still taking a lot of their sweet time to perfectly position themselves in order to work their way in through both cache and potentially control room as well, which is a bit of a funnel. But depending on the actual positioning of Elyssar as of right now, it could still potentially work out for them.
Well, Kento and, well, young Alec, I suppose, doesn't give Aqualix the opening kill they desired, as opposed to round number 2. Young Alec's been able to survive. Kento also able to survive. And Aqualix, as I mentioned earlier, without that opening, struggling to really get something substantial. They've used their hard-reaching utility and opened up some solid angles. That is without reproach. They've been able to open up part of that wall and make good things happen. But beyond that, they start pushing up in a bathroom, and they're just struggling and waiting to find an opening from Elyssar. And if they play disciplined, don't create that breach in their defenses for Aqualix to exploit, they struggle to find this room. Rotero Drone goes into Vault, maybe trying to push the Aruni out of position and give Psychosis a kill like it did previously, but now with 30 seconds left, Vivid can make the most of these toxic canisters, and Aqualix are forced to just throw utility as much as they can to burn through those magnets to create the space they need, and now Elyssar's guns and utility come alive. Rice downed and finished off by the impact grenade. Gasher does work his way on in. The firebolt's going through, putting the bomb on the floor as well, and I was giving Aqualix a lot of flack, but nobody stops the plant. They take him down as he exits, but Psychosis can heal himself, and him and Afer, now just him and Psychosis, can pull back, but only into the arms of Vivid, as Gasher might get the bomb off successfully, but Elyssar successfully retake.
And it seems like for Elyssar, they have much better discipline, much better team play. Almost as if the first 3 rounds were kind of feelers as to how exactly Aqualix were going to play against them, and they'd be doing a much better job of allowing Aqualix to kind of self-stall. One point I was going to make earlier was, you know, suppose the star-studded player of Afer, if he can't really be enabled all that much, then problems definitely lying through. I mentioned that actually going into that round, and that was definitely a true statement heading into towards the end of the final 20 seconds. They just weren't able to get all that much accomplished. They had still tons of utility to burn through, the ADSs, the Mize, impact grenades as well being flung out by young Alex to confirm that first kill, and everything just like slowly tumbled apart there for Aqualix. And now Elyssar really playing in home that they are a bit more experienced against Aqualix as of now and are able to punish them a bit more for the mistakes they make.
Now, if you recall, John, you might not, it was 2 whole rounds ago, so it was quite a long while. Kento, talk about giving away openings. Kento gave away one here, just playing very aggressively up inside of long, ended up falling to, well, somebody just walking in, able to cut him down. The roam as a whole also collapsed pretty soon after. So maybe here, one thing I'd like to see from Elyssar is if they're going to roam, maybe just hang out in bunks and daycare for the moment. Don't push too far up. Never mind, Kento retakes his position exactly where he died first before. Okay. Hope it works out better.
Still
Or he
change,
rotates off
maybe?
sooner.
Fingers crossed.
True. Can change.
Got a couple more seconds before they work their way up there. Psychosis, just getting ready to repel. Looks like Aqualix are a bit more willing to change as well. They've got somebody actually hopping in through. Nice C4 by young Alg at least, and that was on to Rice. I believe he was expecting someone near maybe the one of the window repels, perhaps. Not too sure. It was the hatch. Thank you, Nova. Appreciated that. So, Sledge gone. That's gigantic for an Armory Throne defense. That's almost all your vertical, if not all of it, gone. Only thing left is Psychosis with a secondary shotgun, but that's a very timely exercise. So that is a tremendous kill, to say the least, for Elyssar. And their roam game is still perfectly fine. Kento has fallen back too. He can play much better with young Alec and maybe the Jaeger in this position too. He does get spotted, but again, the team play, it's a huge factor, and when a little bit of pressure is given to Kento, he falls back. Much better play overall, and Vivid finds one via the vertical. This is just tenfold for Elyssar so far.
Yeah, much, much better. Kento retreats back a lot earlier on, doesn't give Aqualix that opportunity, and in tandem with some players on his level and below him, not in terms of skill, in terms of like literal X and Y axis, able to get 2 kills. Counter Aqualix's 5v2 start from the previous attempt at a thrown defense. Now we have quite a few players stacked over towards the west side of the map, 2 in split, 2 inside of Drug Lab, and Aqualix struggling to find an opening, which, well, they can't really. They don't really have nades to clear these people out, and as I mentioned earlier, there's not a lot of vertical on this site, and not even too much in the area that Elyssar is now playing, so if AQ want to open this up, they just got to start trying to take gunfights and going for kills.
Split hatch opened up. I believe there's still one more thermite charge for Gasher to use if he wants to get the yellow wall opened up. Roam game, though, is still very dominant by Elyssar. You've got tons of people stacked up near both lab and storage. The team play, the contact, it's surely there for Elyssar. I'm not too sure if I can say the same thing for Aqualix. So it looks like they're trying to pincer out at least one of these many defenders placed over near both storage and lab, but they're not fully able to put a pin on them just yet, wasting tons of time. 30 seconds left to go, and they still need to worry about Vivid and the player in lab as well. This is just not looking to be all that great of a round here for Aqualix. Young Alec whips out the pistol and manages to finish out the round for Elyssar, flawlessly evening us up going in the second half.
Excellent play by young Alec right there, and just overall a good course correction for Elyssar going into the second batch of 3 rounds. Again, for them, thankfully, obviously, Bunk, they didn't make many changes, to be fair. Still suffered a little bit to what Aqualix were going for, but they end up squeaking out a win. Then for initiation, they just wait for Aqualix to push, let themselves stall their own engines, get the kills. Throne, they don't really let Aqualix stall their own engines, it's just they don't allow Aqualix to get that opening pick. Pull back, force them to come to Elyssar, and then they're able to play off their coordination to pick off lone members of Aqualix. So overall, solid second batch of 3 rounds, but this is what we were all waiting for. This is the half that we all wanted to see. Theme Park is these 2 teams' autobans, but for Aqualix in particular, this is a map that has a lot of small, isolated rooms, some that are even far out of the way, where Aqualix can rat and catch Elyssar off guard. Tanner switched his entire prediction from Elyssar to Aqualix mostly off of this fact. Will it come to fruition? Will Aqualix be very ratty like we thought and we're probably hoping for? If they are, will Elyssar drone it? If they aren't, what do they have in store? Those are the questions I'm asking myself. You might have some different ones, but that's at least what I'm going into this half with.
I'm wondering if Elyssar want to, like, ignore the vert and just kind of, like, rush into site because they have a Ying. I highly doubt that, though. There's just no way that they go for something so maniacal. But might be a good idea. Because, again, big emphasis on this roam game. A lot of it is actually just only in the eastern half of the map, though. Up until now, eventually Afer works his way more near the cafe corridor, playing behind the deployable shield. And it looks like my funny spin-off of how you would sometimes attack this objective room is not going to happen. We've got the full clear being attempted by Elyssar, doing their job on the drone game, spotting out there's a lot to be dealt with on this top floor, and at least they have tons of utility to actually counteract this placement by Aqualix so far.
Psychosis here's one outside on Repel right now, and as the sledge inches closer, Psychosis hoping that Giddy will give himself up. But unfortunately, a drone goes in, and he walks right in front of the very window he was waiting to peek out of. So unlucky positioning by Psychosis. Now Elyssar have that opening they desired. Kento also inside of maintenance can likely start probing the reinforcement. By that I mean opening up a hole in the top and just sending a nade on over. So not really probing, more so just, you know, blowing up the hard breach denial. But, I mean, Elyssar have cleared out, like, the one major element of resistance on this top floor. Sure, there's Afer, who, as I say, is getting aggressive. So they actually need to be a little bit more careful than I might have initially made it out to be.
With the air job, though, it can't get too aggressive. If someone were to peek him from the cash doorway out from the back balcony, then he can maybe find something. But besides that, he most likely has to reposition, maybe look down through the waiting hallway, and at some point have to fall back at some point. Although Psychosis was not that important to keep alive in terms of general utility because his util is passive, still having a gun down on 2 very frag-heavy teams is going to be still a gigantic positive for Elyssar, but they definitely have to consider this time management as they only have a minute left to go, and I don't think they've gotten any hard destruction done just yet with Vivid still having 2 charges in his back pocket.
They still have those Candelas, which can always fast-track an attack, even if some aspects take a long time. Plus, this is really about the only wall you really need to open to make an execute happen. Obviously, opening up, yellow wall might help, barrels as well, but that is the one wall that if you want to win by getting the bomb down on throne, that's the one you need to open. Now the Candelas go through, and this is what I mean. Even if you lack some control, this can fast-track it. Still no entry just yet, but as the third Candela lands, Vivid finally enters through the breach, but a Razor Bloom triggers, and nobody shoots it. The Thorns pepper into Vivid's back, and now Diffuser's dropped on the floor. Though Giddy picks it back up with all those Candelas gone, he can focus on putting the bomb down, and Aqualix still can't get activated inside of the site and answer back. The C4 goes out as a piss-poor attempt at plant denial. Doesn't even land and comes out seconds after the bomb had already gone down. Piss-poor spray by Rice as well. This has overall been a very problematic retake for Aqualix, trying to get this defuse down. Gasher finished off Rice soon after. I mean, that was just seemed to be easy for Elyssar, even with Vivid literally dying.
I mean, it's just having a Ying for your executes, it makes everything so straightforward, especially when you don't have both Lamai and Jaeger or a Warden, for example. You have to respect that Candela wielding Ying at all costs, especially in that instance where the smoke grenade, it's more or less it can't deny a lot of the site because how gigantic it is. You can just walk past it and just plant, especially when no one is able to watch over that plant position because of how strong the natural cover is when you go plant behind the throne room. It was just way too much that was going to favor Elyssar, just way too much pressure, way too much weight on the shoulders of Aqualix, and because, again, Elyssar already had a man advantage and had everything else keenly looked at, plenty of people in Dragon, plenty of other pieces of util to help out the Candelas, I mean, it was just only a matter of time before they at the very least got that plant down. So, great round by Elyssar, just working with the tools they had in such a great way, and now they're able to get that slight advantage going in around 8, but no Ying this time, so maybe that execute towards the final 40 seconds or so might be a little more challenging when attacking this office room site.
So I don't know why I kept saying Giddy. He's young Alec. I don't know why I kept saying Giddy was on
Chat
for some reason.
They've got eyes. They can see. It's okay.
Yeah, I know, but like I'm bugging out. I mean, to be fair, it's 9:50 p.m. Eastern time. Getting a little late. That's my one mistake for the day. If I do another one, I'm fired. No excuses after that. Hopefully, to use another segue, John, hopefully Elyssar aren't making any more mistakes at 9:50 p.m. Eastern Time in Initiation Room. By that, I mean they made some mistakes in their defense, but now in their attacks, maybe they can approach these things from a new angle. An angle that I actually don't really quite know what it is yet, because we have Inrio over on the Cash Repel, but we also had someone over by Drug, and Kento's downstairs in Dragon. Really don't know where they're taking this just yet. Because, like, everyone is everywhere at this point.
Don't know if Giddy noticed Slime playing near Throne Room, but at least they know where Gasher's playing at. He is incredibly close near the Cash Double Door of Smoke. You lose out on your main stall for the actual plant. That would not be very good. Apparently, Slime was detected. Kento almost rips him to shreds completely, but just brings him down to 10 HP to really make him think twice about going on any Hail Mary attempt if played. Still a Nitro Saw in pocket, and a lot of flooring being soft. Maybe Slimy Nick could go in for a C4 toss if the information is great. Aqualix, but besides that, he's probably going to be very inactive the rest of the round unless he manages to get in a rat position and just catch somebody in a bad spot against Elyssar.
Well, first couple Rotero drones have, well, one failed, one got a couple ADS, to be fair, so it hasn't been entirely unsuccessful, but, well, there we go. As I was about to say, hasn't gotten that shield just yet. It's actually a nade that undoes it, so Rice will have to now play behind the wall instead of having refuge behind that shield. Elyssar running into similar problems that AQ did, which is entering Dragon, clearing out some utility, but then struggling to actually move beyond that point. Inrio smokes out the double door, so they've cleared off some angles. They can start moving on in, but Gasher gets the first kill on a Young Alec. Aether, the second. Somebody in cash falls on that long angle held over by Yellow. Giddy's the first one to get on the board for Elyssar, but they're struggling to make any kind of headway into Initiation Room and Office. Aqualix is just playing off these angles, playing in the positions they've held for 2.5 minutes now, and Elyssar are walking right into it. Kento sends out a nade. Maybe the last bit of hope, but Aqualix quickly snuffs it out. 4-4 now, as it seems to be initiation is difficult for either of these teams to get beyond the initial entry.
Really shocked as well. We've had nobody try to go around and play for more of like a bunk push in, get that wall opened up, and then head into initiation. It has only been heading in through cash and trying to get that back wall opened up, leading into actually offices instead of initiation, and going for that plant direction instead, where it is much easier to play for those long angles and play for the util burn when you are sitting in the back of Cafe, especially when no one late rotates over near Cafe as well, which has been a very big problem for both Elyssar and Aqualix when attacking that site. But also the fact of, in general, how much easier it is, or I talked about how easy it is to already sit in that background near Cafe Hall, but also how much easier it is to execute from bunk, especially with the Ying. We saw how powerful Elyssar were when they had the Ying. I'm not only shocked they didn't want to go through bunk, but also not bring out the Ying. And it seems as of right now, there's time to change again. They're not going to bring the Ying again, which I really would think they would just keep hard picking her, because even if they have a ward, that's really only one op that actually hard counters the Ying in this situation.
I mean, it is always a difficult line to walk. You've got to worry about those ADSs and those magnets, so you might just want to focus on, maybe bring in a nade op or somebody like Zofia who's got an LMG and some good utility as well, or even focusing on those Flores and those Rotero drones to, take down the 2 shields the defense has and work some defenders out of position. Maybe those ADS and magnets, they feel a little worried that those Candelas will go to waste. They end up bringing and relying heavily on that Ying to get an execute down, or could just be sacrificing some other kind of utility. We can say here, though, what we can say is that Elyssar, thankfully, well, unless we see a mass rotation, Elyssar don't appear to be going for that arcade take like Aqualix did, so we might see something with a little bit more dimensions, but even if they do, John, the nice thing with this Flores, they have a lot more utility to make this very linear approach to bunks more viable.
Although Aqualix brought the Flores almost every time to deal with that shield, they didn't think of their opponents may bring it out, so no mute to stop the Rotero drone, and that one key location that Kento had so much success on is not going to be all that helpful for Aqualix on their first time defending this top 4 objective. And that's going to give a lot of room for Elyssar immediately off the rip. We've got somebody late playing out near lab as well, that's Giddy. He can go for grenade kills, potentially. Again, a lot of the flooring is rather soft when attacking bunk and daycare, so not a bad option at all. Roughly 2 people were stacked up near the break room windows. Looks like Vivid has transitioned over, maybe to go for that hard destruction play over near the bunk wall, but currently no one to back him up as of now. Could be a very risky decision, especially if he's just there kind of one-man armoring everything, or armying everything, with Case as well.
Well, half the round gone, and finally, somebody enters the building. Took 1:30 for Kento vaulted into top Dragon Stairs, and he's got a couple players to deal with. Mainly Aether in terms of like active players that he might have to take a gunfight with, but still maybe a couple over by Yellow that could prove pernicious if he tries to move in through that top floor. Giddy's moved to the bathroom rappel as well, so Elyssar not skipping a lot of steps in this clear, but a lot of time is gone. I mean, they've rotated over to a completely different style of execute, and they have walls to go through, utility to clear, and still 5 defenders on the board waiting for them to enter. And only 3 drones left as well. So they might have to worry about sacrificing some flank drones to find some more intel on the site. They also might have forgot about Aether sitting just tucked in the corner outside this vault door. Young Alec and Rice both get 1 each, but do they know that Aether is just around the corner? Gotta check your corners, man. You lose 1, but not the second. Vivid's able to compensate for that. Excellent reaction onto the Wamai, but still only 25 seconds. Utility just now going through. Enrio repels directly in front of Gasher. Rice also unread inside of Arcade. Vivid, who stopped Aether from going huge inside of Office, stuck on Yellow. suffocated, his entry stopped by that smoke grenade. He'll drop down to try to get at least one kill to pad his stats. He'll down Rice, who crawls to safety back around the corner, but Gasher, with one singular pump, puts Aqualix in the lead.
That's one of the main issues for trying to go in for that normal kind of push with not a lot of time left, or at least later in the round, is you've already burned up so much time just only clearing out a shield and not even getting a kill, that it allowed Aqualix to put themselves in almost a perfect position, despite that shield being lost in Cafe Hall, to stop you from working almost all of your forces in through both initiation and office side, giving Aqualix a 5th round here. I'm really shocked about the sluggishness on the side of Elyssar, because again, you'd think with such a volatile team, I've said that word a lot, but we have seen a lot of very hyperactive teams throughout the day-to-day, Carter. You would think they'd want to pick up the pace in terms of how they want to enter the building. You jokingly said Kento first entered the building for his team at a minute 30. Now, don't get me wrong, he wasn't the first one to do it, but everyone else that was in the building went back outside. They are just giving Aqualix, again, even more time to perfectly position themselves, and it just seems counterintuitive when you're such a frag-focused team to just self-stall yourself. They're doing what Aqualix has done countless times before, and because of that, Aqualix are actually able to capitalize and now take the advantage once again.
Yeah, and it's also like, we expect a little bit more from Elyssar. Like, you know, I say Elyssar, hey, bring in the Flores. Linear take Aqualix went for. Now they can maybe speed it up. And they don't really. They just rotate completely. I'm like, oh, Kento, first in the building. Because nobody's entered at that point. Just, when Elyssar was so dominant at the beginning, it seems very puzzling that this is the team that we have now, which, with this roster that we've hyped up when they were Investigation File, when they were SH over a year ago, albeit with some different players, but still the same core 3/5, has looked ever so promising. Sure, you know, maybe you can blame BO1s, you can blame whatever you want, but it's still a fall from grace, and what should have been probably the top team in CL, second maybe only to Aerial. And it's, well, it's not even seeming like that's a viable possibility anymore, especially getting taken to task by Aqualix on a newer map that I have to say, Aqualix aren't exactly, you know, bringing out some crazy stuff on. Playing this pretty normal. And expect Elyssar to be a little bit more ahead when it comes to this style of game.
Overall, just kind of playing good and basic Siege. It's enough to take the advantage, say that much. Seems like for Elyssar, though, they are trying to speed up their overall clear, but there is much more of the map to take care of when you are attacking a bottom floor site. Funny enough, no rush leading in for the actual lab attack. It's going to be a very normal approach. A Cade Claw's not in the pocket of Afer, so he cannot trick this back wall. It gets opened up with relative ease by Elyssar, and now they can begin to slowly push away that Kaid or force into play here to die, which again, a very gun-heavy team, that opening duel can really be that make or break. So now having prime information on where Afer is playing at, it is only a matter of time before they begin to push him away, and it looks like that will just about now happen. Minute 20 to go, but at least Afer is still alive for the current moment.
He's able to escape that breach being opened up directly in front of him. Just good use of the Cali by Inrio, making quick work of that Electric Claw. Also now has that Sniper to basically try and lock down that entire breach, though the Sniper could sometimes be a difficult teammate to work with. Maybe could still make it work. First pick, 2 picks actually, go the way of Kento, who somewhere just cuts down Psychosis and Rice. Might be pretty much in the site at that point, outside of it, and now finally in it, or above the site, excuse me. Still, an important position to deal with how Aqualix were defending so hard upstairs. It effectively was the site. And now when they've started to make headway on the bottom floor, an excellent round that so far has pretty much washed the bad taste of the previous 3 all entirely away. Unless Slimy Nick is able to pull off the flank of the Sentry, which, to be fair, somebody inside a split on drones just now gets off, and Slimy Nick cannot react in time. Put to 1 HP by Enrio, who goes in for the kill, though ends up losing the fight anyway. He's down later on by a teammate close by, and Gasher as well from Giddy up above. I know I was ragging on Elyssar quite a bit at the beginning of this, but that was a genuinely solid round from them on attack, something that we've overall been lacking, even in the one they won.
Took a very long time to kill the Kaid, but eventually it happened. Kind of the same way for Aerial Rise when they were clearing out Nocturne's roam game. It did take forever, but they had the right tools for the job, and eventually they did kill that roam game. They did have the man advantage, and they were just in the better position outright to win that round. Still, though, kind of like the Aerial Rise game, eventually at one point, it got very close between one another. And now we're looking down to see match point no matter what happens, whether that be for Elyssar or for Aqualix. Both teams having their moments of perfection and other times just, I guess the term we've said a couple times now is falling from grace. That could probably be an understatement at moments, Carter. So this really could go either way. We are heading back to, I believe it to be one of these many top floors of Initiation Room offices this time, and this has been just a struggle bus for both attacking teams to actually get a round wind on, except for Aqualix, who managed to do it a singular time, and that was it.
Maybe the Nook will be the recipe to try to bypass a lot of the struggles these teams have had getting stocked up inside of Cash and Top Dragon, as both Aqualix and Elyssar, as you just pointed out, have basically entered that area and then just not really expanded beyond that, except sometimes making your way into the site. In the case of Aqualix one time, again, as you said, get the bomb down, end up winning. Maybe the Nook can not speed things up, but just provide another avenue to keep Aqualix guessing and just toss the dice and maybe make something better than these Initiation Room attacks have been for both teams, not just Elyssar. So I'd keep an eye on young Alex, see where he ends up pushing from, because that will probably be the difference maker, whether he gets a kill or ends up getting killed.
Yeah, only now has Kento, that main entry player, actually be tied up with young Alec in terms of entry. For a moment, he was actually beating him, but it doesn't really seem to make that much of a difference overall. The entries have been important at some points, but not every single round, as I would have most likely imagined going in this matchup. But hey, speaking of entries, there's young Alec once again. Right place, right time. Slimy Nick had no clue there was a Nook just in the middle of storage, and because of that, he's gonna get caught gunned down, and now camera up, giving the advantage to Elyssar in the first minute.
Glad I wasn't proven wrong this time when it came to a Nook on the board. Thank you, young Alec, proving my point. And now we'll see if the rest of Elyssar can join the Nook in making some big plays. As somebody creeping up Dragon Stairs, that's not the Nook, it's Kento on the Finka, who catches Gasher completely lacking with a smoke canister in hand. A much quicker pace set by Elyssar against Aqualix in round number 11 right now, and one that we desperately needed to see for what have been sluggish theme park attacks so far.
Well, still have a huge advantage here for Elyssar. Aqualix, much less utility to play with. I feel like they were relying on that roam game and that slight extension much more from what we saw last time. No Amai to back up the Jaeger ADSs. Now no smoke grenades as Gasher has died. Aether and Psychosis, though, play immediately at the same time, and in the blink of an eye, that huge advantage Elyssar had is now gone. A minute left to go. Things could still change, but things are looking much better for Aqualix now, and they could maybe get match point based off those 2 kills.
Might just be able to. Psychosis playing back as well. Knows one has entered Initiation, but Kento able to get the better of him. Ooh, Rice undetected, tucked in the corner. There's a second there they just got to be careful of. Can't let Giddy get too much freedom on the doorway from control. But as a nade and a C4 exchange between the Cade and the Sledge, both just take a little bit of damage. Nothing decisive either way. Giddy protecting Inrio directly on top of him. A dangerous position. Angles to the left and the right, but Rice decapitates him. Giddy falls. He might not even realize, but the bomb goes down successfully. Inrio spots 1. Down goes the Jaeger, and 2! As Rice second guesses himself, peeks towards the left. Inrio gets Elyssar match point off the 1v2.
And don't get me wrong, incredibly nitpicky here. Maybe would have had the Jaeger maybe try to rotate around and play for the rotate hold just to shoot the Twitch in the side, or at the very least, just play a bit better in terms of that team play. The 2 versus 1 post plant, you know where the Twitch just planted at. I feel like the team play there just seemed a bit off there for Aqualix, but beautiful shots landed by Inrio. I cannot get away from that one factor. 2 fantastic pixel angles and crisp shots landed as well, just to keep Elyssar in that lead for a moment longer. Bunkin Daycare now on the drawing board. This has only been in play once in the second half, and that was a win outright for the side of Aqualix. But I feel like a big factor of that overall had to be the slow clear that Elyssar had. Knowing their past experience, they should be able to acknowledge that, take a deep breath, and collect themselves, and just try to go in for a more simplistic approach. Maybe start out going from the back gone balcony, maybe hopping their way in through Cash off the bat, instead of waiting a minute and a half to enter the building properly and then face Aqualix head on, giving them plenty of time to set up, basically giving them the advantage without inadvertently doing so.
Match point between Elyssar and Aqualix. We've had 2 OT games today. Perhaps this time they will tip the scales in the favor of the regulation games, win at 7-5, or have a majority overtime games. I don't know. Have we had that in CL so far? Have we had a game with majority OT games? It's been 8 play days now, so I don't exactly remember. I'm not too
think
sure.
so. Don't think so.
Either way, it's still there would not be a lot of company. We can at least agree on that. So, see what Elyssar decided to do. They've got enough in it to finish this round out here. See 3 players now all stacking up on that southern side, and well, I don't exactly know what they're gonna do just yet. Can't really enter the map from over here, so probably gonna go arcade later on.
Maybe we'll have Elyssar try to change up their style of play for a more awkward approach. I'm not too sure. They've got like 3 people near the window rappel. Only one person actually has the rappel up. One's currently droning, and Kento is now rotating, trying to look through the arcade single window to go for a kill, and then he just backs off, goes somewhere a bit more important. Maybe tries to get enabled by Young Alec as he's currently droning him out on the Flores, so Kento can now hop in the building early on and maybe go for that grenade play, or at the very least start working his way closer to arcade, or maybe even yellow stairs. Think about it. As no one's currently watching that position too harshly, that could be a huge just sneak attack by Elyssar to get that first kill, but it looks like Elyssar don't want to be that risky on a round that's so important. Instead, they'll just remain calm, remain reserved, and to still gather tons of info to fully guarantee where exactly these defenders are set up at.
And actually, honestly, it might be the better play if they're able to add some utility to it, because as I mentioned earlier, arcade, you got to worry about that balcony, you got to worry on top of the player, or got to worry about the player on top of the stairs as well. Whereas with yellow, yeah, you got to worry about the player coming from bank, but you could have somebody watching the arcade door, and then all you got to worry about if you're pushing up 2 players is one watching the rotate, one watching the all the way back inside of daycare. So obviously you're splitting hairs at that point. It's going to be a difficult gunfight either way, and that's why you rely on utility, as Kento just did. And with Giddy now able to get active in the gunfights, this is looking like a 7-5 for Elyssar. Plus Aqualix, especially Gasher with the shotgun, can make some big plays. They're still all coming up one by one, single file up arcade, but Kento just barely escapes with his life. Fells Gasher, and it's a flawless round to end the final game of the day as Elyssar redeemed themselves from what has been a disappointing latter half of the season.
I have to say, a rather bittersweet way to end out the matchup, but still the one most of us expected, Elyssar taking the victory. But at certain moments, Carter, Aqualix, they were looking like a mighty strong team. I coined the term autopilot at some points, and although that phrase ended up shooting Aqualix in the foot more times than it did favor them, there were moments where just their default approach was more than enough to actually work against Elyssar, but they still had plenty of time to bounce back. They rebounded quite well and were still able to deny any points being given by Aqualix in this matchup, ending out the game 7-5. We're not going to go past that 12th round threshold, and we're not going to have a game today where we see more than 2 overtimes, nothing above the out of 5 placement, I suppose.
Well, it's still a close game nonetheless, but that is all for John and I today. We'll throw it over to the analyst desk to break down Elyssar's razor-thin victory over Aqualix.
Tanner, one of the things as this match progressed that we were talking about was, okay, we do figure that Elyssar is the better team, but then that first half happens, and we know that historically they are a better defensive team than they are an attacker team. And I'll tell you, when Aqualix managed to make that a 3-3 half on their attack, things felt a little shaky.
Absolutely. Like, this is a very defender-sided map. Still, even in the current meta, I firmly believe that. And it's a map where information is key, and that's something Elyssar has consistently shown that they have struggled with, is making sure that they're maintaining their drones, being efficient with it, making sure they're trading those drones. And in this game, it wasn't really much different. We saw a couple of rounds where they only had 3 drones left on the board, and they're trying to go for a bunks execute. They just start funneling, and they get absolutely mowed down. I do want to give Aqualix credit too. I think this was their best game, right? Like, Cookies, what do you think? Like, I think this was their best game they have played all stage so far.
If I wasn't so distraught about the previous events of today, I would have more enthusiasm about it. But Aqualix, they lost. It's unfortunate that they lost, because it's almost like they watched my video, guys. The demonstration I did, you shoot the drone and you kind of wait for Elyssar to trip up, make mistakes. They were actually doing that for the most part on their defensive half. And a Of course, they sputtered out after their initial 3-0 start to the game, which also is kind of heartbreaking. I honestly thought, like, Forceful, you're about to be right. Your abstract Aqualix prediction. But
So did I. So did I.
honestly, Brim, wait, when we get to the interview, you gotta ask him how and why did you pick theme park? What triggered them for that, and who, like, how did they manage to win this game?
You think I'm so unprofessional that I don't already have that question lined up?
I need you to ask it. No, I don't. I need you to ask.
I'm jumping on Cookie's point here. Yes, we need you to ask
I also
that.
need to know how the hell they won this game, because it looked like they were about to get slammed. I'm not gonna lie. So please ask him these very critical questions. I'm begging.
Okay. Well, I will ask those questions. I know. Oh, look at Cookies. He's just waiting. He's just there. He's ready. We'll interview Inrio right now. We'll ask him those very important questions. Inrio, congratulations. This was a big victory for you guys. First question that the desk wanted me to ask you was, theme park, was this a map that you guys were hiding at all, sitting on? Because historically for both of these teams, it was a perma ban.
We were not hiding. It was more as like we didn't want to play at the beginning because in scrims we were looking a little bit shaky. But like as the weeks went on and we were like obviously losing other maps, we're like we might as well scrim theme park more, try to get better at it, and try to play towards like the end of the season.
Aqualix themselves has not had that great of a stage, and their backs are pretty much up against the wall at this point. Did you get that sense from them as the game progressed? Because they were fighting tooth and nail.
Yeah, they put up a fight. I felt like they still want to win, even though they probably really doesn't matter that much since the end of the season. But I felt like they still wanted to win, and they gave us a fight that was fun.
And one thing I've noticed, it takes a team to win, but when you tend to have really good games, your team does well as well. Were you feeling it today? Because your stats kind of show that you contributed a lot to your team.
Yeah, I was definitely feeling it today. I really wanted that 1v4 clutch, 1v5, but I just it was unfortunate. I didn't know where the capital was, and I was low HP. But I was definitely feeling good today for sure.
Well, it was impressive, and yeah, you guys managed to get it in regulation, which is awesome. Congratulations again in Rio, and yeah, one more play day. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too.
So that was interesting. I wish this is one of those moments where I wish we got an interview on both sides, because I would have expected the hidden map more from the side of Aqualix. I kind of like what in Rio, the explanation he gave, saying, they felt a little shakier earlier. I felt like they weren't really forced to go to that map, but I feel like Aqualix were the ones that, may have been hiding it. But hey, maybe we'll have to ask through a little bit of back channeling.